Hello, welcome to Pride of South London Fan TV. Ali here for the preview of Liverpool V Palace on Wednesday. And joining me is Danny Townley, a Liverpool fan. We're going to get the Liverpool perspective of the game. Danny, I'm quite surprised you've come back after you joined me previously for a 30-minute analysis of Istanbul, and I tortured you there. How are you feeling? You were tortured last night, really, weren't you, in your game against Everton? I think I would actually have rather been stuck with Ian Beale in a lift for 90 minutes than watch that. What were your thoughts on yesterday?
Yeah, I think torture's the proper words, really. It was like waiting 3 months for the pizza you've ordered and it turns up with the wrong ingredients on it and cold and stale. It was difficult to watch.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of, I feel like this Project Restart, with as the week's gone on and the way they're spreading the game out, it's got a World Cup feel. Like you're waiting to see how each team comes out, and you were sort of expecting Liverpool to come out with a blockbuster performance. And yeah, as you alluded to, it was all a bit stale, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and no Salah either, which I was surprised about. So let's go straight into what I want to know. What your team would be, not what Jurgen Klopp's will be, but what you would choose for tomorrow. Not tomorrow, Wednesday. Thinking about Salah especially, will you bring him back in? Also, I think the only player who really came out with credibility for you yesterday was Alisson. Are you going to rest him and bring David James back
in? In terms of the team, as I would pick it, I suppose I've got an easy enough job. As long as Lovren's not in the back four, I'm happy, to be honest. I'd put Van Dijk and Gomez centre-back. Hopefully Alexander-Arnold right back, and I don't know what condition Robertson's going to be in, but I think we missed him the other night, so I'd like Robertson in, but obviously depending on fitness. I thought Henderson looked quite sharp actually. We missed Wijnaldum, so I'd like Henderson and Wijnaldum in the midfield. And then I suppose I quite like the way Keita played the other day, so I put Keita in again because he's never really had a full run in the team. It'd be nice to see that. And then obviously I'd quite like Salah, Firmino and Mane to play. My suspicion is that they might play together at some point, but maybe not from the start or maybe not to the end, if you know what I mean. So as long as they're playing as a three at some point in the game, I'll be happy enough, I think.
So what was the reason for Salah? As he was not playing yesterday, was he carrying a knock or?
Well, Klopp went into the game a couple of days into it saying everyone was fit, everyone we weren't carrying any injuries we didn't know about. So I think it was just maybe they didn't look quite sharp enough, and also we've got obviously the Palace game 3-4 days later. So I think it was a bit of sports science coming into play.
I don't know. I know that you caught Palace football because it was the live game on BBC, of course, when they chose a fantastic game to open with BBC. Jurgen Klopp has watched it. He's described us as a well-oiled machine. What did you make of us?
I think that describes it quite well, really. You seem to have hit the ground running more than most. Unfortunately, I switched on after you'd scored 2 goals and then watched the rest of it. But
you missed out.
I did catch up on the goals, but I thought you looked really solid, really well organised. Bournemouth looked absolutely atrocious, I thought, considering the position they're in. I thought they'd be fighting a bit more. But I know they're missing some players with contractual issues and stuff like that. But I thought Palace looked really good. Far more up forward.
Bournemouth weren't great, but as I alluded to in my post-match review of that game, which is on my channel if anybody wants to watch it, that we really just didn't really let them in the game. And I thought Jurgen, he described us well. We did. I mean, Palace fans, we were really shocked. I just mentioned the fact about how everyone's coming out like it's a World Cup, how he'd be first game. I kind of expected us to be a bit slow coming out the blocks, but we looked like we'd never been away and continued the form that we were showing before lockdown. So, yeah, it was really promising. So I think Klopp will take us seriously. I think he will bring Salah back in. I think he'll want to get a win and get the title sewn up as soon as he possibly can. And we know Man City are winning now. I know they're not going to catch you, but I think, yes, I could see Salah definitely coming back in unless he's got a knock or something. I'm going to go. I'll give you my Palace team and what I think we will go with. What I think I would go with. It is difficult, to be honest, to look and see or want to change anything. But I'm going to keep the same side apart from one change. And I think it might be unpopular, but it's a little bit strange considering Cahill and Dan have gone 4 Premier League games without conceding as a partnership. But I'm going to break up that partnership just for one game. I'm not dropping Scott Dan, but I'm going to rest Scott Dan purely on the basis Hodgson himself has come out and said that we need to manage the players. There's a lot of games in quick succession. So I would question, and I said this in my preview of the Bournemouth game, that I would probably bring Sacco in for the Liverpool game. And I'm going to stick with that, even though Dan had an incredible game. I think we've got to manage Scott Dan. And I would absolutely bring Scott Dan looking ahead to the Burnley game where his physicality will be important. I just think for this game, Sacco's extra pace will be important in stopping Mane and Salah. I did kind of question it in that Firmino dropping deep will lay a trap and Sacco can go a bit gung-ho and could get caught out there by going with Firmino. But the thing that made my decision was that I think Scott Dan, with all his injuries in the last few years, it would be a little bit risky to play him 2 games in a week. This is sort of our free shot game. The Burnley game is one that we should absolutely be expecting to try and go for 3 points. If there's no reason why we can't expect to go for 3 points at Liverpool, the way we're playing, and we've obviously, as we alluded to in the video on Istanbul, we've got good history against you. But I just think the fact that there's so many games in quick succession and that little extra spice, we know Sacco had a little bit of a falling out with Klopp. I think he'll be bang up for it. So I'm going to bring Sacco in for Dan. But that also, if it all goes wrong, which hopefully it won't, you still preserve that clean sheet partnership of Cahill and Dan. So when they come in, if we go to the Burnley game, you bring Dan back in and it might bring that assurance. So if they play Liverpool, who are well known for their goals, you put that record at risk. So it's an interesting one, but ultimately the only change I will make, and it's based only on the fact that I worry about playing Scott Dan twice in a week, is I will bring Sacco in for Scott Dan. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Danny.
The only thing you mentioned from a Liverpool perspective is Sacco getting drawn out by Firmino. I've got half a feeling that he's not going to start Firmino. He played the full 90 minutes the other day, or near enough a full 90 minutes. He might have got took off near the end.
Who do you think you'll go for, Origi?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, he has done in the past. One mild criticism, probably too strong a word, but one mild issue I have sometimes with Klopp is when one of those 3 can't start, he just tries to play the exact same system with another player in there, and we haven't got players who can slot into that. So if he doesn't start one of them, it would be my preference to change the shape a little bit, play a man behind at front 2, or play a like a proper lone striker and wingers. But I don't think he'll do that.
Origi's got a good chant, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. Saturday night, and I like the way you move, Divock Origi.
I like it. Okay, so interestingly, you don't think Firmino will start that? That is quite interesting. I'm still going to stick with it though. I think, and actually that would be good, because that was my only real that was one of my big negatives in bringing in Sacco, was that I felt like he could draw him out. Sacco can sometimes go with his man, so I'm absolutely going to. It might be an unpopular call with some Palace fans. They'll be like, "Why are you dropping Scott Dan?" It's not dropping; it's resting, and I think it will be important to manage the squad with the amount of quick successive games that we've got coming up. Moving on, Danny, I've given you what I think my Palace team would be. Actually, my team that I chose for Bournemouth was the same as Roy, so we'll see if it matches again. Out of all of our players, who do you see as our key man? Who do you fear the most?
Apart from Benteke, the obvious answer would be Zaha. Obviously, causes most teams problems when he's at his best. And he's scored against us. I think he scored at the game at your place early in the season, didn't he? So he's always a worry, and he can easily beat players and causes problems, especially if Lovren's on the pitch, God forbid. But other than that, I really like Milivojevic.
Lovren, that's absolutely fine.
Say that again?
You want to play Lovren, that's absolutely fine.
Can't stand him. Milivojevic is a good player, and he obviously proved the other day his set piece taking abilities second to none really in the league. There's not many better than him. So they would be the two I'd sort of be on the lookout for. It's a funny one, Benteke, in a way, because he's obviously a shadow of his former self. But you always have, as a former player, you always have that little niggle and worry about is he going to score against us just because it's the former player.
That's not over the years. I mean, it definitely will fire Benteke up more. I mean, there's two players actually, Luca and Benteke, that you mentioned. I was actually in my preview of the Bournemouth game said that I think about taking Luca out for James McCarthy in this one, but because Luca hasn't actually had the best season, but he was one who just came out right out of the blocks, obviously with a free kick. So I think he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet for this game. Now he's probably gone from many Palace fans doubting his inclusion to probably being one of the first names on the team sheet for this one based on his performance. Benteke as well. I was thinking probably again a little bit like I said with bringing Sacco in to rest Scott down. I was kind of thinking really, what's the point playing Benteke to win sort of balls if you got Van Dijk playing? But I think he's showing a lot more. He's dropping deeper, linking up play well. That the front three of Jordan Ayew, Zaha and Benteke played so well. I wouldn't change it. So I think it is interesting, and the fact that he will want to do well against his former club adds that spice. So yeah, it will be interesting. So you've gone with Luca as your key man, and that kind of leads me into my key man for Liverpool, because obviously the obvious ones to go for would be Mane or Salah, and I was debating which one I feared the most. But actually, I'm going to go with a central midfielder, and it could really actually have been any of the central midfielders you selected in Wijnaldum and Keita as well. But I'm going to go with Jordan Henderson as the key man. And the reason why is why I think ultimately, and this kind of will lead us into our predictions as well, I think ultimately you will come out on top is we have a good record against bigger teams. And the way in which I think we do that a lot of the time is we grind games out with our three central midfielders, with Luca, MacArthur and Koyate, who also played really well against Bournemouth. But when we play teams like Man United, who we beat at Old Trafford, you look at their central midfielder, McTominay and Fred at that point, you think that there's a soft centre there. Our tenacious midfield can overpower them and win that battle. You play teams like Arsenal, who we drew twice with this season. I remember James MacArthur running the show at the Emirates. I can't see Jordan Henderson allowing that. So Jordan Henderson is my key man. Purely as well, I could have gone with any of them, but I think he's the one with the most Premier League experience. He's the captain. He'll be telling his fellow central midfielders, "You're in for a battle today." And I don't think he will allow Liverpool sort of to roll over and be affected by our sort of central midfielders who are like always sort of whipping away at players' ankles almost. They're just always in their face. I don't think he'll be overawed by that or allow our central midfielders to be. So I think ultimately you'll match us in that battle, and because you'll match us in the battle with your sort of quality on top of that in Salah and Mane, you will come out on top, which obviously I hope is wrong and that we continue our surge to Europe. But I'm going to go in my prediction based on your central midfield. I'm going to go with a 3-1 to Liverpool. What about you, Danny? What will you go for?
Right. I was sort of I think partly based on maybe a little bit of pessimism from last night's game. I can see Liverpool winning because I can see us being a little bit more sort of at the races, but maybe just by a goal, maybe just a single goal. I can see Palace scoring. So I was thinking more Liverpool by a goal, maybe a 2-1.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I definitely. I mean, I'm not going into this game thinking. With Palace, I always go in sort of believing that we can do something, and obviously we're very good on the counter. But I just feel you'll edge it. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. My prediction for Bournemouth was a draw, and we won that 2-0. And a win we're only 4 points off the champion. If fifth is the Champions League spot, we're only 4 points off, and we're obviously above Arsenal, which is nice. So how many games do you think until you've got this title wrapped up, Danny?
Well, I think based on last night, what you were saying before, maybe you expected us to come out the traps a bit more quickly, but knowing Klopp, as we sort of got used to him, he does follow the sports science, follow his advisors to the letter. So if there's a player who's not quite right or is in like the red zone, he always is talking about the red zones, he just won't play them. Like, so I can see us having a couple of draws here and there. City look unstoppable, just so we're gonna have to just, I suppose, win it on our terms. It will happen sooner rather than later.
I still believe that City will catch you, but
to be honest, I wonder whether it might take the City game, which is our next game after Palace, to really get us going properly, because we'll have played 2 games and then we've got a week off. We've got I think 8 days between the 2 matches, which is an odd thing to have at this time of the season. I think that might be the time we actually get going, is in the City game. So that it could be then, could be that match.
That would be a good one to win it, but
it'd be a nice bit of needle to win it at the Etihad.
Yeah, although the atmosphere at the Etihad would be the same as always anyway, won't it? But anyway, I think obviously you're going to win the league. It's been nice to have you back on. I think beyond the Crystal Ball and the little mini rivalries we've had over the last few years of us causing you a few upsets, I've realised as 2 teams, we talked in the Crystal Ball about the fans and the atmosphere, that we have a few more links. Obviously, we've got legendary players, world-class legendary players who played on both sides, like Neil Ruddock over the years. So, I wish you all the best. Good luck. I'm sure you're going to have the title wrapped up soon. I just hope that luck isn't with you on Wednesday. And I'll see you after the game for a bit of a post-match chat.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, pleasure. Anytime.
Yeah. Don't cry like Suarez did after Crystal Ball.
But I definitely won't.
Thank you, Danny. As always, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe. Please check out other videos that we've got on the channel. I will see you after the game. Let's hope that we are glad all over.